I'm corporate sales manager. I'm responsible for accounting, providing the country manager.
Sorry. No.
The country manager, sales operations manager, accounting manager, sales manager, station manager, cargo manager, port manager. Different departments.
We will be.
Very good afternoon to everybody. Good afternoon, Chris. Pardon? And welcome here. This is the first time we've actually held an event here at the Open Street. It's a long time ago. I know. This feels like the third part of the BritCham trilogy this week. On Monday, we had the Mandarin Oriental Hotel, we had the Climate Change and Environment Hub, Indonesia's future as a sustainable investment superpower, and acknowledged by everybody present as being the best set of panels and speakers put together since the ASEAN Summit, the APIF and the B20, a remarkably successful event. I think a couple of you who are here were there, and hopefully you'll attest to that and share your experiences. And yesterday afternoon, it was a pleasure to have the first professional women's hub face-to-face event of 2024 as well, led by Sonia over there on that table. That was at Sarina, the future of retail through Indonesian diversity and heritage. And then the third part of this particular trilogy is emerging technologies in secondary, tertiary and corporate education, developing the workforce of tomorrow. It's not really my place to say too much. I'm going to leave an awful lot of the thought leadership, thought stimulation to our moderator. But I would like to say at this stage that this particular topic is particularly relevant right now. And why I say that is because today, tomorrow, Rudy, I think the BritCham Business Confidence Index will be landing in many of your inboxes. This is the survey for 2024. We haven't done it since 2019. It's had previously 8 iterations. This is a survey of international businesses that are domiciled and invested in Indonesia. And really what we're asking to know is their forward thinking. Meaning, are you going to be increasing your headcount? Are you going to be increasing your investment? Are you going to be adding new product lines or service lines? Are you going to be moving to do business in other provinces? And if you are, what's driving it? And if you're not, why not? And it's this type of information that makes BritCham a very, very reliable source of business intelligence and information that government rely on. The Indonesian government, our government, and other counterparts like Kadin as well. But the reason of the relevance is that for all of those 8 years, the top 3 responses have been, and I'm not sure in what order, they might have even moved around a little. Environment, yeah, you're nodding, get that. And the C word, corruption. But little by little, over the 8 years, it started with a number of around about 20%, was another issue that was becoming an increasing impediment to achieving the potential of the opportunity of Indonesia. And it related to talent, the acquisition of talent, the development of talent, and the retention of talent. So this particular discussion today, which is around the workforce, but with a digital flavour and a digital, very much consistent with many of the preoccupations of the executive teams of the companies that are doing well in Indonesia, but trying to do even better. It gives me great pleasure to welcome our annual partner, our new annual partner to this particular technology and digitalization hub, and that is Turkish Airlines, who are represented today by Omar. And his colleague Siska. Siska as well. This is the second collaboration that BritCham has had with Turkish Airlines. The first one, obviously, was very productive mutually, and we're delighted on this occasion that Turkish Airlines have actually taken on board to the annual partner of two of our hubs, so this one and also the SME hub as well. So thank you for your confidence in us, Omar, and obviously the team is well motivated to make sure that we deliver value in return for that confidence that you have shared with us. And I'm sure that Omar will be very, very happy to explain to you how Turkish Airlines has really become a major, or Istanbul has become a major hub for all European traffic, particularly traffic that's heading out to Southeast Asia at the moment. Also, I'd like to thank Dharma Group, who is our event partner as well. They're also our business development partner, annual business development partner. So with that, it gives me great pleasure actually to sit down and enjoy listening to other people speak. I'm going to pass the baton or the microphone over to Tom West, who is the chairman of the Technology and Digitalization Hub. He asked me not to mention that he is also on the board of Juicebox, and Juicebox happens to be the company that one of the panelists or the panelists that he's going to have a conversation with is also in. He wanted to avoid this issue of nepotism, interconnectivity, unfair advantage, use of position, and all of those things. So I said I wouldn't mention it. Okay, with that, Tom, I know you won't mind. That's my Liverpool sense of humour. So I'm in a great mood. Still in it in 4 competitions, having won 1. Tom.
Well, thanks so much, Chris, for that introduction. And my sincerest condolences on the mounting injury problems that you have there at Liverpool Football Club. I hope that the team will be able to endure all 4 of those competitions. Thank you as well to Turkish Airlines, Omar and Siska for being here. And thank you to my co-chair Chandra for coming as well, rallying some troops to join us today. And I hope this will be an informative session. When we set out the year to conceive of some relevant events for our membership, it was apparent that technology tends to reach across almost every business. As I spoke with a few guests today, if you were in a pen and paper business, you're probably not in business any longer at this stage. Different businesses have already undertaken varying degrees of digital adoption, digital transformation. And we're increasingly confronted with new and emergent technologies. In a recent survey conducted by Accenture, 97%, that's a lot of people, of C-suite executives, feel that even though they make continual investments into technology, digitalization, research and development, they're barely keeping pace with change, or in fact falling behind. So we hope to provide some benefit through today's discussion about maybe some of the gaps between the skills that are emerging from secondary and tertiary education and corporate education and the requirements of today's private sector. So with that said, I would like to invite our panelists to the stage. First, we have Dr. Stefanas Wisnuwijaya, who is Dean of the School of Science and Technology, Engineering and Mathematics at Universitas Prasetya Mulia. And Dr. Stefanas is not only just the Dean of the STEM, he's also the acting Vice Rector at the university with 15 years of experience in higher education. He's established research centers, been widely published, secured grants. His PhD is from Queensland University of Technology, which was focused on user experience and digital privacy. His work has been published in renowned journals. He's a seasoned lecturer and speaks mostly on social technologies, management information systems, and human-computer interactions. Please welcome to the stage. I should point out that, unfortunately, our guest, who was to represent the secondary education sector from North Jakarta Agricultural School, fell ill and was unable to join us today. But we have joining us from private sector and corporate training, the country manager of SEMA, which is the Chartered Institute of Management Accountants, Dwi Putra Widianto. And Dwi is leading the strategic planning, marketing, and communications. He's responsible for budgeting and all of the other operations that occur here in Indonesia. Previously, he served as the country manager for Cambridge Education Group and has deep experience in the corporate and private education sector. His diverse career includes roles in Nielsen's data acquisition, Young Leader Program, and working as the marketing export supervisor at LG Electronics. With his proven track record, we hope he will offer some unique insights into corporate trading, the needs of tomorrow and today. Dwi, please welcome and join us on stage. Finally, we have my colleague and friend, Joel Pember, who is the brand director and co-founder of JuiceBox. Joel is an accomplished public speaker, and he is a recognized thought leader in the use of technology to create meaningful connections between people and brands at scale. Across the JuiceBox organization, we have nearly 100 individuals located more or less 50-50 in Indonesia and Australia, and our merger is only about 3 months old. So we're, as Chandra knows, that's a lot more work than people can see from the outside. We are currently focused in bringing the expertise that they've developed in Australia into the region. So with that, I'll join you guys in jump forward.
That's it.
Check the line. So when we had our speakers briefing last week, one of the main themes that emerged consistently throughout was this gap when it comes to these cutting edge technologies. When I said IoT, VR, AR, and artificial intelligence. The prevailing topic of conversation was artificial intelligence as we worked our way through potential questions that we might go through today. So I'd like to turn my first question to Dr. Stefanos. And maybe you could tell us a little bit about the opportunities that you see with regard to individualized education, perhaps through the lens of AI, and how that might help meet the needs of emerging technology as it is applied in the workforce tomorrow.
Yes, this is AI is revolutionized the education sector, and if we can see strictly that almost 20% of students is on students they use AI, especially for generating ideas, also for developing writing. This is very important. We need to upskill and also provide
interesting, thank you. I'd like to then pass a similar, maybe a follow-up to Twee. Are you noticing any trends in the corporate training sector where they're applying newer technologies or AI in order to perhaps personalize education or customize programs to the needs of the businesses that they run?
Yes. Okay. Sorry. When we're talking about SEMA itself, I mean, majority of our partners or client are mainly on the finance or on the accounting division of the bank. Whereas when we're talking about the traditional landscape that has been in place for any organization, they're still using some traditional way in order to maintain business moving forward. But then, as all the AI coming forward, not just AI, all the technologies, IoTs, blockchain, RPAs, AI, all those kind of technologies, including the predictive analytics, they need the team to have some good understanding. They don't need to be a tech savvy on a particular area. Then if they, I mean, accounting or finance professional, no need to be a tech savvy. There will be some other people who are taking care of that. But they need to have a good understanding how they can utilize all those tools in order to build or in order to make the business grow. So coming forward back in the last 5 years, I must say, the needs and also the requests coming from the corporate sector, asking for some personalized learning, asking for some upskilling of their finance and accounting teams, somehow going more than 30%. In order to that, us as one of the professional qualification that provide some upskilling to the organization, we try to have some tailor-made, some personalized learning for those individuals or the organization in order for them to be able to build the business moving forward. So yeah, definitely it's happening, and I believe this is just a start, because I believe in the next couple of years more to come, and they just want their team to be able to utilize the tool, not to mention removing the people, but how the people that are already there can utilize all the tools that are already there.
Great. Thank you for the insights. I kind of have a follow-up question for you. So what I hear is that there is increasing interest in the personalization and customization of education programs. I assume that's a very costly endeavor for SEMA to go and personalize. Is there room for AI to help with this personalization? And if so, how would SEMA adopt that?
Yes, definitely. Because when we have the discussion with the organization, when we have the discussion with some of our corporate partners, we come in as a consultant. We want to hear what is the obstacle that you have, what is the outcome that you want to have when you want to upskill your team in order for them to be able to build the business even further. I'm not saying that really making them as a personalized and different from one organization to another, because like I said, it will be very massive cost that we need to build. Because one organization, one mining, they want to have different things. FMCG wants different things, but we can have the silver line. We have we'll take the dots. What is the most important skills that you need to have for the teams? Like utilizing tools, okay. Like for the finance, especially how the finance team can get some strategical analysis on whatever the technology has provided. How the finance and accountant can have some problem solving, some skills that, like I said earlier, utilizing the current tools that are available in order for them to be able to use that specific tools in their line of scope, in their line of work. So, I'm not saying that we want to have a very personalized learning, but there will be some basic or there's some ground rules that they want to achieve. And then from that point, we try to provide that solution. So not really very personalized, but we, I can say like half personalized, but half using whatever we have.
Okay, great, thank you. I think I'll shift to Joel, following on from the comments from Lee about using technology to personalize education and training. And I'm curious, Joel, if you've seen some ways in your experience where technology can be used to personalize a user experience or personalize ways that people might adapt with technology.
Yeah. Look, from a seems to be okay. That's a little better. Hold it there. I won't move. From a marketing standpoint, I've got to remind everyone in the room that I'm not in the education sector. I'm the co-founder of a digital agency, and we're a marketing and communications focus. But as over time, technology's become more and more important in that space. We now design and build products and experiences for brands, and personalisation is the holy grail for any brand or any institution really that wants to connect with people. If they can do it on a level with deep personalisation and create meaningful experiences that the user on the other end actually feels like it's been built for them and that it knows their life and their situation, then they find that extremely relevant and they will remember it, right? And memory really is the message. If we can actually tap into people's memories and create new memories and memory structures, then we create very, very deep and meaningful connections in people's minds. And that is the same psychological and behavioural science that actually happens when we educate people, right? They are going through lived experience, they're being trained in different ways, learning different things, but essentially they're forming new memory structures in their brain to recall at a later stage and obviously deploy in life. So coming to the point of the question, are there technologies that are delivering personalisation at scale? I don't think they're there yet. I think we're early on that. I think analytics, and there's definitely some powerful analytics engines out there behind websites and applications that are very much harvesting every interaction and informing, better user experiences in the interface design. They are definitely informing even, there is dynamic content and dynamic CMS, which is content management systems, that now will know if you're logged in to that particular website or app, and if you are interested in XYZ, then it will adjust the content hierarchy. It will deliver you this message before that message, because it knows your profile, it knows what will actually motivate you. Those things are happening now, but I think it's going to become much more sophisticated, and I think humans are too slow, right, to analyze that data and do that, whereas the machines aren't. They can synthesize and automate, and so I think as long as the intelligence and the data is right, and we give it permission to customize the experiences for us, and the data security and privacy is intact, because obviously they're going to know everything about us, then I look forward to that day. Actually, I think they're going to be some incredible experiences for people to have in an education environment, but also in a consumer environment.
Yep, that's great. I think I want to pull on that thread a little bit when you say that there are CMSs out there that can algorithmically deliver this either re-ranked or personalized content. But I want to shift the gear a little bit and put it in the context of learning management systems. And as a researcher, Dr. Stephanus, who is in mathematics and technology, I'm curious if you could give us some insights into what institutions are doing. What's the cutting edge now with delivering customized LMS systems into university level education?
From the point of view of as a team or side of things in learning mathematics, we use AI for analyze the learning performance of students. And I believe it's very important for us to learn how the progress of learning experience
So is this a multidisciplinary approach with social scientists and
Yes.
psychologists with the university
Yes.
and so on?
Yes.
That's interesting.
We have an survey in our university to understand the sociological background of the students, and also we have database in our management system, which provides every information of their learning process in the university, and it can be accessed by the teachers, lecturers, also including and we discuss to provide mentorship for the students and chance to learn in every subject. So AI is very important for us, and we always to try to develop the technology to enhance our learning process.
It is impressive. So what I hear is that the university itself, the faculty, are using AI to ensure they're doing the hard work and they're doing the right work to ensure good educational outcomes for the students.
And also recognizing that humans are different. Every single one of us are different, and that we're not just lemmings that are walking into a factory and getting the same experience. Where everyone learns differently, and I think it's brilliant that the university is understanding that, recognizing that, and trying to actually approach it.
I'd like to advance it a little bit further with Dr. Stephanus and ask, are you offering AI courses to students yet? In what way are we integrating the fact that the workers of tomorrow's workforce must be functionally competent in some of these AI tools? So I'm curious if you can give us some insights into what particularly our university is doing about that.
Yes, we have very people training artificial intelligence. It is part of social science and also some AI subject in other degree programs. They learn about AI technology, but in other degree program on artificial intelligence, robotics, they learn how to develop technology.
They learn how to develop the technology. Okay, so from more an engineering, a model creation perspective.
Yeah,
Okay,
more engineering side.
okay. What about other parts of the university? Even whether it's social sciences or business, are they taught how to use the tools as opposed to build the tools?
Yes, of course. In School of Business and Economics, they learn how to use the database for different business. And from School of Law and International Studies, they learn about methods of AI.
Okay, great, very interesting. So even in the 18 months since the launch of ChatGPT, we have universities already trying to get out there and get in front with ethics and showing people how to use the tools and so on.
Especially people should give respect to data privacy because AI technology control a huge amount of data. Most students, we don't know that AI is good data. They need data.
Yeah, where did it come from? Is it true? Yeah, a very good point.
I think also the fact that AI science is decades old, right? We've got GPTs that seem relatively new, but this science has been going for a while now. So it'd be interesting. I'd love to know the specifics of those courses and how deep that engineering curriculum actually goes. It's impressive.
So I'd like to then look at the subject of the fact that every business has to use technology. Every business, whether you're involved in problem solving or creativity, you probably have an application already for generative AI inside your business. There are ideation processes or other processes that you can seek to streamline and make easier or get structures by the use of simple tools like ChatGPT. How do you maintain academic integrity? And how do you cross the gap of the fact that you need to teach these students how to use the tools, but you don't want them to use the tools on their exams and essays and so on?
We cannot avoid AI because it is really AI, but we when they do the exam, they write. They cannot ask a student the exam. They can put here.
Yeah, Neuralink one day. Yeah. Okay.
Just want to add, I think this kind of things also emerge not only, I think this become concern globally.
Yeah.
Because like the use of not only the ChatGPT, there are so many tools out there that students can use, especially nowadays. Even I saw there are some tools here, and even helping out to write your thesis and everything with all the, you know, we call it Turnitin, where those can, yeah, you know, these tools can help to have a very small numbers of, how you call it, plagiarism on the Turnitin. But I think it goes back on one of the researcher from SIMA also having this concern that has been delivered towards the educators, like the university lecturers, that it's all about, like I think you mentioned earlier, integrity, ethics, and transparency. Because when it comes to, there is no tools that can help the lecturer to stop the students to use these, technologies, whatever they call it. But it's all about how the students need to be educated, how the students need to have more the educators and also the students need to have this kind of transparency. Yeah, okay, you have the tools, but it's not something that you use all the time. It's not something that can help you to gain weight with 4.0 GPA. It's more into like helping you out to get some ideas, and you try to build those ideas into your own words. I think that kind of messages, that kind of transparency that needs to be built with the educators and also the students become something that really important.
All right, thank you very much. So I'm curious now, we've talked about how universities can help prepare people to use some of these emerging technologies, specifically AI. I'm curious, maybe Joel, if you could speak to any of the gaps that you see coming out when you're looking at hires. Obviously, you're in a high technology firm, so maybe you see a lot more gaps than somebody who might be in, say, logistics or accounting or something like that. So I'm curious if you see any trends where there are some gaps that are growing rather than shrinking.
Yeah, look, I think there's a baseline with respect to all employees at the moment, and I call it digital fluency. They need to be savvy to a point that it's pretty natural, or you're not hired. That's first and foremost, and that includes tools. Some of the more recent AI tools. Looking at resumes and CVs and people listing out the software packages that they know. Those days, I think, are numbered. There should be a base assumption that most of these tools are known and that people use them. They are productivity tools, that's what they are. I think more so it's a mindset, and I think every company on the planet that's going through some sort of transformation, which is most companies on the planet, as you said, 97% of C-suites from Accenture reports basically said that they don't feel that they're keeping up with the pace of change, and that even with accelerated investment, they're still not actually finding new growth or finding deeper customer relevance. And so when we're hiring employees into these environments, as agency, we have to be curious, have to be innovative, because we are hired to be those specialists that plug into other companies and basically deliver on some sort of project, goal, or outcome. And so we need essentially a superstar team of problem solvers that are digitally fluent to come in and have, maybe a specialization. So we've got the strategy team, we've got the creative team, we've got the development technology team, we've got the analytical and data science team. They have their specializations, but more importantly is this idea of actually having an open-minded, curious sort of nature. We as companies, need to create environments that are less hierarchical and more open to failure. Successful failure is what we call it, rapid successful failure. It's, people shouldn't be punished or they should feel comfortable and safe enough in their working environment to potentially make mistakes. It's dropping out, but and so as a result, we want people that are coming in that are open-minded, naturally curious, digitally fluent, have a specialisation that's relevant obviously to our team, and are happy to be collaborative. Go and work with those clients, go and work with their offsiders, their co-workers, and really find new solutions. The future needs to be innovative. Testing, that's better. I hope I answered that correctly.
Yes, yeah, good, thank you. Let's shift gears again. And in our speaker briefing, one thread that emerged that I thought was pretty interesting is how we engage in what is coming, the age of AI. It's going to have a significant influence on human culture, the shape of the future. How do we engage with this technology and still retain that human interaction? So, we talked a little bit about, the internet could fall into an echo chamber of generative AI. What safeguards can we put in place, maybe Dr. Stephanus, to ensure that we are able to guide this in a way that benefits the workforce at the moment?
There are two important things. The first one is enhance our nursing skills. The second one is human and AI collaboration working space.
Can you elaborate a little bit more on each one of those?
Yeah, we need to understand. The first one, we need to understand how AI works. We need to understand how we can adopt AI and strategy for our life. And the second one, we need, with our knowledge and skills, we need to collaborate with this technology. It is important to understand that AI, we need to develop a mindset that AI will not replace our job, but AI will enhance how we can work effectively and efficiently. We need to adopt with this technology. Because this technology it is an intelligent technology. This one human beings, not data. We need to understand how this technology works. We need to understand how to adapt this technology, how to develop creativity based on this technology.
Okay, maybe I'll shift the similar or even the same question to Joel from a human-centered communications perspective. How can organizations, employers maintain those relationships with employees, corporations with its customer audiences, and so on in this age where you can type 15 words into a computer and it gives you everything you supposedly need to say to a certain audience?
So, Pam, what was the specific question in that statement?
I still like the word. Basically, how do we ensure that we have human-oriented relationships with the people that we're trying to recruit into our organizations, that may be technology-dominated, and at the same time, how do we continue to have those same human relationships with our audiences?
Yeah.
If you're consumer-facing goods, whatever it might be, when it's so easy for our marketing team to go and plug in 15 words and get a whole game plan.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
from ChatGPT.
Look, I think it even might come back to your previous question to me, in a way, where are the gaps in terms of what trends are we seeing? I think if I'm hiring people right now, it doesn't matter what department or discipline, I want them to have an interest in behavioural psychology, because we need to understand human behaviour deeply, and I'd love them to be a data scientist as well, right? Because
How many of those do you find?
you can have those two things. In fact, we have intern programs, and they're high school kids, right? They're young, they're really young actually, and they come in and they're like, what job career pathway should I go down? I'm like, do psychology and data science, and, I'm like, and you'll be just fine, because the technology, I don't think matters. I think we've got the human experience, and that's exactly what you're talking about. That's actually the most important thing. We should be designing products and building technologies that enhance the human experience, right? And that's all that matters, right? So the data is an output of that human experience, because as we live it in a digital world, we create a footprint, and so we need to understand that. And obviously these LLMs are data hungry in terms of training. It's sort of amazing that Reddit gets for an IPO, and Sam Altman's a 10% shareholder of Reddit, and they're going to train that. I think they're selling it to Google, so Google's going to train Gemini on Reddit's database, and then you've got Elon Musk that bought Twitter, that looked like a really bad idea to buy Twitter, but now looks like a really genius idea because he's training Grok, his AI model. And then you've got Amazon, Anthropic and Claude, and so they're data hungry. And so that side of things is fascinating, the business side of data. But I think from certainly an education perspective, and certainly as a brand and consumer perspective, we need to go deeper on human psychology and behavioural science. And if we can really understand the human experience and build things for that, then we're going to create great products.
You look like you might want to add something to that. You're nodding.
Yes, I think AI can help us to understand what is the people behavior, because you can capture a huge amount of that data, and then we can use. This is the most important thing. The most important thing of AI abilities analyze our behavior. To get a profile of each person and to develop more effective and efficient human-computer interaction, user experience.
Like, market research is one of the most flawed things that I think out there in terms of, if I went and asked any one of you right now what you were thinking or feeling at this one time, you would not be giving me an honest answer. There's bias in your response. Instead, when you speak to market researchers, they say, ask everyone around that individual, because they have a better perspective on that individual than the person that's actually answering the question. And certainly don't ask the individual about the past or the future, because they're bad historians and they're even worse futurists. So I think when you're on a digital world and you're just living your life online on the internet, that digital footprint is sort of black and white, right? Like your behaviour is mapped and captured, and so it's market research in real time, really. And so that's where we're going to learn a lot more about human behaviour.
Yeah, I think you're right there, both of you. And I just have to observe that if we're training this potential superhuman technology that needs to understand and evaluate human behavior, and our data sets are Reddit and Twitter, then we have some challenges.
We do. Dark holes in the internet.
So I'll shift gears a little bit, maybe drift a little bit away from just the applications of AI in the workforce, and more toward how AI can cause data privacy concerns. We touched on it a little bit earlier, but I think we can go a little bit deeper. And maybe from your perspective with SEMA, I'd be interested in hearing, obviously your practitioners control very sensitive company information. If they were to use open source models for analyses, and that gets used later for training data, there have been proven ways where they can start teasing training data back out through the transformer, right? The famous case being reiterate the word business as many times as you can, and then suddenly the tokens go off track and it starts giving training data back. What practices do you think should be in place in the management accounting industry to prevent data privacy leaks when it comes to using AI?
Yeah, I think when it comes to data privacy, it's a very, like I say, it's a very confidential data that we need to absorb and get from our client or our customer in order for us to provide the solution. So when it comes to data privacy, again, in the EU we have a very strict regulation on the GDPR. where everything needs to be written, everything needs to be agreed by both sides, that all the data is only managed on this particular task. So again, I mean, when we're touching base with our clients or with our customer in Indonesia, we still follow through into the GDPR in order for us to maintain the trust from our partners when we try to absorbing those data from the partners. And on top of that, the data privacy itself, it become very enormous in order. I mean, when we're talking with a big corporation, with a big organization, we try to get a lot of data from them, and we try to evaluate and understand the gap that we need to follow through and provide with the solution. So coming again back to your question, how we maintain and try to manage the GDPR or the data protection, data privacy, we are following through all the regulation that has been stated from our original countries, and until now we don't have any issue with the data privacy, because we try to using those data only on that particular task or particular things that we build with them. So yeah, but again, I think it's also become the first question that goes with they come to us when we have the discussion with them: how you manage our data? Where will you store those data, and how sure that those data is is in the right hand, is in the right place?
And what insurance policy do you have?
Yeah, and what insurance policy do we have?
Great. I think along the similar line of questioning, but going to Dr. Stephanus now, I'm curious, maybe from the computer science perspective, how is it that we can help inform companies of the right usages of AI that can prevent data leaks and offer better compliance?
Yes. Okay. I think it's very important to understand how, from the organizational perspective, how to understand how ready the maturity readiness of the organization to adopt AI. We can assess from the C-level to what extent they understand the benefit of AI for their organizations.
So it sounds like there's a risk here, because almost every organization feels a need to engage. They have access, but they might not have the organizational maturity to operate safely.
Yes, because if you need to adopt AI, you need to have an understanding. You need to have as a person, organizations, employer to understand and have a good skills and good skill related to AI. It is important for the organizations.
And would you normally see that as they hire someone, they get a consultant? How can a company acquire that knowledge to engage safely?
The most important thing is the first important thing is to provide a learning experience for all of the employees on AI, from the simple until all of the employees.
Yeah, I just want to add what Stefano said. I think when we're talking about the business, there's always risk. I mean, you cannot avoid any risk, and you just feeling comfortable with whatever you are doing, and you say, and you're talking about, okay, I have this data, if I share and we want to utilize the AI, there will be some risk. But again, it's just a matter of fact that they need to understand, like what Pak Stefano say, from the top management level to even to the staff. They have a good understanding of this technology. They, like I said earlier, they don't need to be tech savvy. They don't need to be a very deep understanding on the AI into the coding or whatever, then if we're talking about coding, then we just eliminate your position there because we do the all coding ourselves. But it's just a matter of like, okay, when they share some of the confidential data, some of the data that might be come into risk, they also know that when we share this data, they also expecting some outcome in order for the business to go. So I believe when we have the discussion with our partners or with the organization that we're working with, they also knows some limitation when they share those data. Not all data will be shared because obviously they're just giving out their company to us and then we just take over the company within a couple of weeks, definitely. But there's some boundaries, there are some limit of data that will be shared based on the outcome they want to achieve. So I think when talking about the data privacy, the data protection, whatever it is, I think yeah, they also need to understand. You want to go to this way. This is the information that is needed. They all need to understand why this need to be shared.
Okay, I think the most important thing is that in the future, maybe soon, organization need chief AI governance with provide regulations, internal regulation for the organization with respect to data privacy and choose which AI technology is appropriate for align for their mission and missions, and also enhance knowledge and understanding of its employees of the role of the organization about AI and how the organization can be benefited from the AI technology.
Very interesting. So, just a quick show of hands for the people in the audience. How many of you feel like you have a use case for AI in your business that you're currently operating or involved with now? That it could make some impact, whether it's through content generation, helping with social media posts, or anything like that. Yeah, quite a number. So based on what the panelists have concluded just here, the need to have top to bottom understanding of the risks, to have some governance structures in place. It seems like we cannot wait for university graduates to come up and eventually become CEO, and now they understand AI as a company, because AI is moving way too fast. So it's incumbent on all of us as business practitioners, business owners, to kind of take the step forward and understand that we have probably a responsibility or an ethical obligation if we're going to use AI in our companies to kind of socialize the ethics of AI into our business, best use practices, and as you say, a chief AI governance officer in any company with you. That's great. If any of you have any thoughts that you'd like to add before I open the floor to questions, I invite you to do so.
I'm just going to add quickly. I think what this moment in time is sort of allowing people to do is consider whether they have a data policy / data strategy, because really these tools are just unlocking the actual value of their own data. Yeah, there's privacy concerns, but if you're ISO or SOC accredited and you're compliant and you're a professional business, you can have those very secure arrangements with big cloud service providers. You can pen your data so that no one else is going to be able to access that. The big cloud providers, whether it's AWS or Google, and there's plenty more, they're all providing their own AI services so that you can really pen that data on their servers, use their AI models that they've trusted and built for that infrastructure, and then deploy it into your business, whether that's customer facing or internal staff facing. And so those tools and things are happening now. I'm quite literally, Amazon is trying to take me out for lunch nearly every second week to try and sell more customers onto that infrastructure. So they're ready for it, and they want to sell it. So I think every business just needs to consider the data footprint that it has and know what it's doing with its data. These tools are just going to unlock more value. I think that's sort of what you're saying, is it's a value exchange.
There's Does anyone have any questions from the crowd today? We're super happy to answer it. If it's specific to your company, come see us privately if you like, that's fine too. But open for questions, please.
Don't be shy.
I guess we already answered all there is to know about AI. Great, so we're done here. Really, any questions? Anyone? Sure, Ben, we've got a microphone on the way.
Hi there. Thanks very much. It's really quite enlightening. I'm here today actually partly with on a bit of a Luddite. Chris probably can't. It's partly that, and also because I'm a parent with late teens who are about to start university, and I have no idea what they're going to be facing at university, and I'm really greatly comforted to know that you know, the proactive nature and the forward thinking of your institutions in adopting AI. Joel, you just mentioned it a moment ago about preparedness as well for small business owners learning that footprint. I'm really curious to know what I can do as a small business owner, but also as a parent as well. Really, you know, what sort of preparation I can make for you know, the months ahead, because it's something, someone my age, it's completely unnatural, and it doesn't feel natural to me. Thank you.
Maybe before Joel answers that, I would just point out that it's appreciated that you frame your question in terms of months, because I think it's imperative that we think in terms of weeks and months when we look at AI. This isn't a multi-generational project. It's going to overrun those who are not prepared.
Yeah, preparedness. I've been at the forefront, literally, you know, in the trenches of digital transformation. So I started my business when the first iPhone was released. So it's the same year. So we're up to iPhone 15. So that's, you know, that's how I count my years in business, number of iPhones. But I've seen a lot change, and you know, keeping up with the rapid pace of technology, and it's just getting faster and faster. Is something that's scary for everyone, and that's the first thing to probably say. I think we need to be vulnerable. That's what I was talking about before. We need to be vulnerable in these moments and actually create cultures of safety, right? So where we feel safe to say, I don't know, or I just tried something and it didn't work, right? And if you're in that working environment and your colleague says that to you and you go, that's cool, let's try it again and do it some other way. That's how innovation and progress happens. You have to fail so many times to achieve. So I think that mindset's the first thing, right? Knowing that young people coming up through education systems right now are facing an incredibly dynamic landscape. We need to create cultural safety for them to continue to learn and to go into work environments that potentially are going to be rapidly changing. So that's up to the leaders of institutions and employers to create those cultures. And I think that's probably the first thing to do. In terms of learning technologies and adapting them, I mean, if you're on a Microsoft sort of working environment right now, Copilot's probably popping up in all your software everywhere. Certainly your keyboards are all going to have a Copilot button, and it's the same on the Google ecosystem. It's with Gemini. These things are just going to integrate. They're going to be tools. They're not choices anymore. They are here and now. And then I think if you go deeper and if you wanted to specialise in something, or if you're a business and you want to really build AI tools and really get into it, then you just have to set up teams and probably hire consultants and whatnot to really focus. So as a small business, it's hard at the moment, I think. You have to obviously strategise yourself, upskill, go to events, learn as best you can. There's plenty of online learning around this stuff. I subscribe to way too much news, and that's where I sort of try to keep on the bleeding edge. I don't know if everyone's tuned into the headlines today, but you've got Sam and Elon both countersuing each other, so that's going to be interesting to watch that play out. But it's obviously rapidly evolving, and I think just even being aware to the fact that you're maybe a Luddite is a good start.
Just want to add, I had this early conversation with Tom and Joel back then. when talking about the small and medium enterprise, I mean, back then people think about using technology, AI, RPAs, IoT. This is only for those tier one companies. This is only for those companies who are very stable in terms of the funding, having a wide growth of perspective they want to achieve in a global perspective. But then, when the COVID strikes, some of the small medium enterprise sees these opportunities, because again, otherwise they will be out of the competition. Otherwise, they will be, losing their market in whatever the business they are doing. And it's when you're talking about the technologies, it's not really as expensive as we thought. That okay, I want to use this AI. I need to allocate this big amount of budgets that need to be, being used for an organization. There are some tools that can be used for any organization. There are some tools that can help the business to grow into the direction that you want to moving forward, especially on whatever business you are doing. So again, talking about the technologies, I think this will be applied to all layers of organization, whether you are in tier 1, tier 2, SME, even for how we call it, the
online growth.
Yes, even on the online shop that you are having at the moment. I think it will be spread out into all layers of business, and it's just a matter of fact that we need to adapt. We need to, again, not to be a tech savvy, but you need to know what is the best option that you need to utilize in order to build business into.
Even our business is being disrupted right now, right? We're an agency, and I employ many people that code for a living, and the CEO of NVIDIA, which is now the third largest market cap in the world, is on the record last week saying, "Do not teach your kids to code. No one will need to code soon," right? So what do those people now do? And I said to you earlier, I said there's a 2 to 5 year window where those coders have got the edge, and they'll be 10 times what they are with those tools, right? Which will be amazing, and they'll seize that opportunity. But in that period, they've got to learn also what they're doing next, right? So that's the transition period for them, and for us as a business. And so that's where even, to talk about COVID, the technologies that we jumped into during the COVID and the pandemic period existed already. They weren't new technologies. It wasn't like the pandemic happened and we went, oh, new technologies. It was a behavioural change in humans, right? Forced upon us, obviously, because of extreme circumstances. But that behavioural shift is actually the most amazing part of all that. It was like, we changed the way that we work, the way that we connect, and the way that we transact, and that, I think, was the fascinating human experiment that has had lasting impact across society. So again, human behaviour.
And now the choice of doing business meetings in Jakarta is online rather than Manchester-Kelly.
I like being in person better.
Yeah, me too. Do we have any other questions from the crowd, please?
Thank you for the insightful session. Just a quick one, maybe for Joe. Just wondering, how do we maximize the use of AI in the company, but also at the same time encouraging people to still have organic ideas, which then have to have unique ideas instead of easily generating that through AI, and also critically assess the information generated in AI. Because those might come from unofficial sources, or not legit information that you should use in the company. So how do you balance?
Okay, there's a few things there. I think brainstorming amongst people is still more relevant than ever. I'm pretty much a professional workshop facilitator. I go into companies, I will survey individuals, and then I will have sessions, and we will innovate and iterate on whiteboards still, right? And post-it notes and whatnot. Now, you can do that in a virtual environment with the platforms like Miro and have video calls and I facilitate online workshops every week. But that human collaboration piece is still that important innovation. If you think that employees are just sitting on their machines and they don't talk to each other and they only use the AI tools to be creative, you've probably got the wrong company culture and you probably got everyone set up the wrong way. Businesses need to be collaborative, innovative as a hygiene factor. And so, again, that culture of collaboration I think is key to innovation and diversity of thought. So, we've got 50-50, or I think we've actually got more females in our team than males. And if we go into a particular workshop and we know that there's a gender imbalance, we will actually fix that and change that account just so that there's diversity of thought on the problem, right? So that's a big part of collaboration and diversity of thought, right? That's how I think we innovate and create a world that we all can experience in a fair and equitable way. The second part of your question, which was right, yeah, the sources of information. Look, we live in like culture. Let's talk about culture for a second, right?
It's not just AI.
Music, art, all of it. It's iterative. The greatest artists in the world were inspired by the artists before them. The greatest songs ever written were obviously influenced by people before them, and everything just iterates. So I don't think there's ever really genuinely true original sources of anything. We live our world and we have that experience, and people create and iterate. So yeah, we've got to be mindful of plagiarism. That's a real thing. Don't copy, but know that you're probably, even if you think you've got an original idea, it's not original. It's come from somewhere, you've been influenced by something.
I think a valid addition there is to, you can use AI and existing frameworks of ideation, frameworks of analysis, where you can prompt the AI, which it understands what it understands. It is familiar and conversant and can repeat back these iterative steps of known creative frameworks and use that to guide the process. And you can then organically inject the human ideas into a structured process that has been tested for generations or decades.
And I think one thing that is very crucial, especially the human interaction in utilizing those AI, is the emotional intelligence. I mean, when I'm talking about the machine, they are talking about based on the data. They're talking on more into like, how to call it? They don't have the kind of mindset of the emotional, especially when
Empathy.
In any kind of business, I mean, they keep going straightforward from what the data that have been provided. Okay, you need to go this, but then we need to understand in the scope of, okay, did the AI try to capture the data from all over the world, but you are trying to build business in Indonesia. It's not one fit for all when it comes to the solution coming from the AI. That's when the human interaction involved into this. So that's why still human interaction still needed in terms of utilizing this AI, because in my opinion, AI still working in some way of like a predictive solution. There are some areas, the gray areas, that still maybe I may say like unpredictable, depends on whatever areas, whatever things that need to be covered, that still we have the human interaction, like you say, collaboration, brainstorming. Okay, no, I don't mind. Because the brainstorming, DEI, you get the focus group discussion with different background. That's when the ideas can being tried to integrating with the solution provided by the AI.
So Louise' mention about cultural differences brings to mind a really good example that I can speak directly to answer your question. So in the integration of our merger with an Indonesian agency with almost 50 Indonesian staff and an Australian agency with almost 50 Australian staff, they're drastically different cultures. We're neighbors, but super different cultures. So I personally use ChatGPT to help develop a cultural development plan, a cultural training plan, based on Hofstede's cultural dimensions theory, which have several basically orthogonal dimensions that hope to describe how different cultures express things in different ways. So power, distance, context, and so on. So we used this and presented it to both teams, and it really helped with the integration in terms of understanding that decoding process that you assume happens in another person's head because of your own cultural perspective often is inaccurate. So if you can understand how their decoding process works, then you can encode a better message, or at least have empathy with misunderstandings and give them the benefit of the doubt and say, you know what, especially for our Indonesian staff, we're super proud of the way they've undertaken this change because they're operating professionally very often in a second language, which to me, my bahasa in Indonesia is tidak bagus, you know, so it's so impressive to see that they're able to do this and to watch both teams use a framework that, yes, I validated it and I checked the data, but I largely created most of this training plan by using ChatGPT, but prompting that I knew I needed to use specific known frameworks in order to get the output that I want. So I hope maybe that's a valid example. There you go. Sure. Yeah. You guys have any other questions? Sure. Yes.
Hello, everyone.
There we go.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. Thank you very much. My name is Henry. I would like to have a specific question to Dr.
Dr. Stephanus?
Dr. Stephanus
Yes.
from Bina Prastika Media because I'm working as a startup for the applications for higher education platform. So we are doing the edutech in Indonesia right now. So we've been discussing a lot with one of our partners from Malaysia, from University Kebangsaan Malaysia, about applying AI to the systems of our technology infrastructures in our universities. And I would like to see how your universities perceive in what level that you are going to implement AI in your campus, since we got a lot of debates like in our academic process, you know, as our fellow academicians, I'm also in the academic industry as well. We have some sort of level of writing techniques while writing thesis or dissertations. We have like some sort of like inductive analysis or deductive analysis, or we have a journal as critical literature review that still, is it still available in AI, where it is still collected in certain publications and which is not for public area. So whether the AI can retrieve the data already. So, and also at the part of the methodologies and how you apply the statistics and using AIs and everything. So this kind of steps while we are pursuing our academic process, we still not sure. We're still discussing a lot about how to apply AI to the systems or the platforms. And I would like to see in your perspective in your universities, because you are one of the best universities in Indonesia right now at the present. And how would you like to, in your plan of applying AI for the future of your development in university? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Henry. The first thing is that the first important thing is that we will launch AI its functions in my campus as soon as possible, maybe this month. It recommends how we can use AI in our teaching and learning process. And then we also we have a huge amount of data about student personalities, because each student in university, they must take a personality test. We call it as AMKA. It is our internal methodology to understand their it is not related to academic performance, but it is personality. Personality. When they enter the classroom in university, they need to take a test. And then after semester 6 or semester, they will take a test again. So we understand the development of every student. Their maturity during their learning process in Tasmania, and it will be sent to the mentor of the students to analyze. We have a team which is analyzing the data. They use the technology to analyze the data because it's a huge amount of data. We need to treat student personalized treatment. Every student. One mentor have maybe around 20 or 30 minutes. They understand the students. I have 26 minutes. I understand all this is a little bit cranky. Yeah, I understand, and it is when the end of basketball, yeah, this is the point. When they which semesters, this is what happened during the learning process. What activity they conducted during the learning process in the university. Not just academic activity, but non-academic activity. Also, some they need personal. Maybe we need to have the more experience, more academic experience will provide. It is a huge amount of data, and it is collected in our university to understand each student performance.
That's incredible, and I think that personality profiling, I mean, can speak to the corporate sector as well. I mean, for instance, at the leadership level in our business, we have all done psychological profiles of each other, and that's so that I know how to not annoy Tom if I'm talking to Tom. But equally, like when you are in a high pressure job and situation, you've got to have radical candor with your offsiders, and you've got to be able to have hard conversations, and you've got to know that people are triggered by different things. And so we've done all our profiles, and I know what makes him tick and what, and equally he knows what makes me tick. And you can actually go around the world, and I think Ray Dalio, who's I think he had the fourth most successful hedge fund that's ever existed, he believed in something very similar in terms of profiling all staff, and he actually made them all baseball cards with their profiles on them, so that you could easily access everyone's profile and actually know what made them tick too. So I think that personality profiling, and again, that behavioural piece and that personality psychology piece is just so critical.
Yeah, just a framework of data-centered understanding about how people interact or develop in the case of tertiary education. Do we have any other questions from the crowd, please? Anyone? Feel free to raise your hand. That looks like a no. I'll invite our co-chair, Chandra, to give closing remarks, if you'd be so kind.
Thank you everyone for attending tonight. I'll keep the closing remarks short and sweet. First of all, I'd like to thank Tom for moderating the discussion. Thank you, Joel, Padri, and Dr. Stefanis. To me personally, it's been a refreshing discussion to have, I think. A lot of people take a very, let's just say, doom and gloom perspective on AI and how it's going to take over some of our jobs in the future. But it's refreshing to see that, from your perspective, it's not really much about technology versus people, but how we can combine the two, and how we can make the way that we work and the things that we work on more efficiently and effectively, and how AI could enable that in the future. It was particularly interesting to know that in Casa Termulia, you guys are using AI to track on personality to make sure that that could contribute good to the personalized progress of each student. And it was also quite interesting to hear Joel talk about how AI could, you know, not just, I guess, track people's memories, but hopefully in a journey, I guess, in your context, in the marketing journey, how we can help create those new memories in the future. So it's been a really enlightening discussion. Thank you everyone for your time, and thank you for the audience for your time as well. I hope it's been fruitful to you. Last but definitely not least, thank you to our annual partner, Turkish Airlines. Teşekkürler. Thank you for attending this event and for sponsoring our event, but also thank you to our event partner from Dharma Group. We hope that this discussion panel has been useful to everybody here today. We have a lot of events lined up in the tech and digitalization hub, but also in the many other hubs that we have at BritCham. So I really do hope that we can get to see some of you again back at some of these events. Thank you. Have a good evening, everybody. Thank you very much.
I would like to take the opportunity to present these certificates of contribution to our distinguished panel. This is for Dr. Stefanas. Thank you, sir. And please. Thank you. Sure. Yeah, and if we
Would everybody want to just stand up and we'll have a group photo here?
All right. This way.
So it's good to see that there's so many contribution outlets there, especially in all our partners. Because we are very expert in this.
Thank you.
Dari jauh aja lah Pak.
So many.
Camera shy.
Oh, really? Good. Kita kan sudah kenal dengan dia. Kita udah ngobrol panjang lebar. Foto ya?
Salam Bapak Yusuf.
Ya, Bu, disalamkan. Apa kabar? Bu? Baik ya. Is there any upcoming exciting projects in the next future?
Belum ada janji lagi sama Bos Yusuf. Kalau kemarin kan dia bayar utang, karena satu kali.
Alright. Ya.
Bapak Ibu kalau ada event yang perlu lagi, kontak kita.
Iya, kan kita sering di kampus. Ya, sebelah kantor soalnya. Yang mau British Council.
Oh iya.
Yes, yeah.
Halo,